Welcome to the second season of Mompreneurs, where we celebrate and learn from fabulous Black women who are out here killing it as moms-in-chief, running both their households and their businesses. I'm your host, NancyRedd, and I come from a lovely lineage of Black mompreneurs in Southern Virginia. I'm thrilled to present this intimate interview series that highlights inspiring and educational stories about how women are creating incredible opportunities and generational wealth for their families. But money isn't all this series is about. Balancing motherhood, mental health, and happiness is really important too. Jesseca Faye Harris-Dupart, aka Judy, aka Beautiful, is a self-made sweetheart of a mompreneur and grandmompreneur. From teen mom of three doing hair in her house to triumphant founder of Kaleidoscope, a multi-millionaire product line that is full of incredible stuff to get your edges straight and your hair growing, we've all gotten to fall in love with her and her wife, Brat, on the hit reality show Brat Loves Judy on WeTV. I am so excited to talk with you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
It's really great because, Judy, I mean, for so many of the people listening and watching, you are the dream. You have created this world for yourself. You are a self-made millionaire mompreneur. And I think you are aware of what a business role model you are, right? Or does it sometimes not hit you just how much you've accomplished in such a short period of time?
I think I don't live there long. I think because if I almost live in the present, it kind of, for me, it might have a chance of making me complacent. So I find that I'm often thinking about what's the next thing I can do. So sometimes I do have to take a step back because I might, I might be in a place of, hey, you're this far, but I'm like, that's far, but it's kind of not far enough.
Is it kind of one of those things, if you stop and smell the roses, you just might never get back up again?
Well, I guess you could say that. I mean, I feel like the thing with entrepreneurship is that knowing that anything is possible, to go after anything, you have to keep going. So I can have a great accomplishment. I mean, I had a Guinness World Record, but then I said, well, and I get another one, So it's like, I'm not going to stop there. I want to keep going.
And this is very important. We're going to talk about your Guinness World Records a little bit later. For my favorite is, because my son is going after a Guinness Book World Record, but it's for something not nearly as substantial as yours, which is for philanthropy. Mm-hmm. But to get to the philanthropy, the hustle had to come first. Mm-hmm. And you've been running since you were 15 years old. It's very interesting because a lot of the mompreneurs I talk to, hair is an incredible option for mompreneurs because of the flexibility and freedom it allows you, right?
Sure, why not think that? I was a full-time hairstylist, so...
No, I know, but you liked doing hair as a kid, and then it turned into something that allowed you to make money while being able to handle your kids.
Yeah, but I mean, my children who are of age now kind of say the opposite. My children have voiced to me how, because I was a successful hairstylist and went to the shop for 5, 6 in the morning and didn't come home till after they would sleep, that I lost a lot of time with them. So when I was raising them and I would bring them to the salon, they were in the salon, but we kind of did sacrifice family time and doing stuff, like maybe going to the movies.
But what was the option? Was there another option?
Well, so I think greedily, if in a perfect world, there was a way to be able to, as one person, work hard enough to be able to make enough money for the life that I wanted for them, and also make enough time to be able to afford them the timing of all of the things that they wanted to do, I could, but that's humanly impossible.
The world is not perfect.
That is humanly impossible. So I think I did the best with what I had.
I think you did an amazing job. And one of the things that this show is about is you can't have it all, right? Mm-hmm. But in a perfect world, one of the reasons entrepreneurship is such a great opportunity for mothers is because it gives you a chance to pursue a passion that provides for your family. Because you've been passionate about hair since you were a little girl. You were sneaking people into your house to do their hair. Other people are sneaking people in their house for other reasons, but not you.
Yeah. Well, so being a hairstylist now is like a thing. It's glamorous. It's extremely lucrative. But at the time that I was trying to do it, my parents were trying to raise a doctor, a lawyer, all of the things that are listed as the normal successful type thing. But I really, really love doing hair. So they weren't, I'm not going to say that they weren't supportive, but they didn't understand. So I did have to, when they were at work, sneak people in. There was one time I hit a girl in the shower. I would never forget. I snuck them in. My parents came home early. We had one bathroom. I hit her in the shower, and my mama went to use the bathroom. Oh, my God. She didn't catch it, though. I snuck her out the house. It was the craziest thing ever. It was the craziest thing ever. I think I was like 17. Yeah.
And at this point, you were at a head. And I think one of the great things about your story is it's a great example of multiple setbacks just being setups for comebacks, because you were on the path by your parents' desire. Like many of us, right? They want you to be the doctor or the lawyer, especially growing up. You know, that seems like that's the respectable path.
Right.
And so when you were pregnant at 15, your path got changed. And in an incredible way, instead of being on that path, you transferred to trade school, correct?
Well, I got pregnant at 15. I was going to a school that didn't necessarily allow that. So I switched to trade school, but I switched to trade school when I was 17, when I got pregnant the second time. So when I was 15 and I was pregnant, I was going to Benjamin Franklin High School, which is a top-rated school. You have to take all of these tests to get in. You have to have a certain kind of IQ to get in. And it was a great opportunity, but they didn't have anything set up. Like they had never had nobody that was pregnant there. So they were trying to talk me into going into an alternative school, but my parents didn't want me to go to alternative school. But they didn't have like maternity leave or anything. So I wound up having a child, had to go back to school like 3 to 4 days later. And then eventually there was me going to a different school to pursue cosmetology, but that was all because, yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot I was doing. I was rebellious, didn't want to listen, wanted to do my own thing, wanted to have my own way, didn't listen to my parents when they say don't be, messing with those little boys and doing all of that. So I just was doing whatever the hell I wanted to do.
But it did lead you to have to lean in career-wise into hair. Was there ever a thought where you were like, okay, was there ever another option that you considered pursuing besides hair?
No, there was never. I did try to work at Burger King once when my parents wanted me to get a job since I had a child, but they told me I had to cut my nails and make my hair smaller, and so I think that lasted 3 days. I quit. Yeah, so.
Well, you cutting your nails now before a different reason.
I know.
I was looking at your little shorter nails. Why are you cutting your nails right now?
Since we have our baby on the way, I want to make sure that I don't, that I'm ready. So I'm trying to get to the mommy nails. I think it's going to take me a couple of more months.
I have mommy nails.
I'm trying to work my way there. I've been wearing long stiletto nails for years now. Like my children are. My children now are old. They're in their 20s. So I've been wearing long nails for a long time. So it's going to take a while to get used to this.
So that was the fun of being your own boss. As a hairstylist at the time, you got to do what you want to do, be who you wanted to be, didn't have to answer to people. That's a benefit.
I think so. I think so my dad was an entrepreneur too. My dad did everything he wanted before he passed away. He was a real estate agent. He was an accountant. At one point, he was pursuing the police. So, and then he had his own liquor store when I was growing up, when I was a child. So watching him was very motivating to say, oh, well, whatever it is I want to do in life, I can go do. And so that's kind of what I did. I just had absolutely no idea that I would be landing here. I didn't have it on my goal list. Hey, I want to be a millionaire. Hey, I want to do this. That was never on my goal list. I just knew I love to do hair. I wanted to do hair. And every year I wanted to make more than I made the year prior to. Like I was real, I write what I made every day down to the cent. And I would keep track of it. And I still have a couple of them. And it's handwritten. I had no idea that this was me training myself to be able to be a businesswoman later on in life.
Your father passed away in 2011. And you're keeping these records. You saw him do everything that he wanted to do and take these risks and start these businesses. Was there a correlation between your dad passing away in 2011 and you starting Kaleidoscope very shortly after your hair salon?
Yes and no. I had before I opened Kaleidoscope Hair Studio, there was a different salon that I had. I had a salon with my partner at the time. And in that journey, my father, while he was still alive, when we had one salon and we wanted to expand to another one because the business was growing. So my dad was real pivotal with us opening the second place, but that journey made me realize I wanted to do something by myself because I had big, grand ideas. And you know, when God gives you a vision, he gave it to you. You know, the person laying next to you might not understand. Your mama might not understand. Your best
partner
friend
might not understand.
That's what I'm saying. The person laying next to you might not understand. You know, your grandmother, your aunt, your cousins, your best friends, a lot of people might not understand the vision that they gave you. But I learned that because when I was in a partnership with somebody and doing business with somebody, all these great ideas I had, everything was too large for the person that I was in business with. And I just was tired of being boxed in and restricted. So I started Kaleidoscope Hair Studio to venture off from the thing that I was in, so I had no restrictions.
Was that a difficult process?
Extremely. The reason why is because I was a person, like I told you, I used to write everything down. So I write everything down, I planned everything, I did everything. At the time, I only had $2,000 in my savings account.
And the security deposit to Kaleidoscope was how much?
$1,800.
Okay, so the math ain't mathing.
No, but God, let me tell you something. I'm a very faith-based woman. God told me to move. I did not understand it, and then I realized afterwards he was breaking my mold of knowing that everything doesn't have to go by how you write it. Everything does not have to go by what you want it to be. Everything is not going to go your way. But if you just follow his direction, everything will be fine. Because I was left with $200 to try to figure out furniture, getting the lights cut on, television, everything. I was left with trying to figure that out. And it happened. It's not like money fell out the sky, but from there it was like, now it's time to get to work, because faith without work, faith without works is dead. So Absolutely. Then I was doing what I called it a hair-a-thon. I don't care if you came 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 10 at night. I'm your person.
That's incredible. So when you talk about this hair-a-thon, you still have 3 kids, and at this point they are not grown.
Correct.
They're part of this. They're literally at the salon with you.
Correct. Well,
in the middle of the night, in the middle of the day, whatever's going on.
Yeah. The bigger picture was, this is about to be awesome. Like, yeah, this was cool, but this is about to be awesome. I wanted to have a space that was a little bit more elevated, where I could charge more for booth rent, where I could, not only that, but I was a full-time hairstylist that was appointment only, and I always had overage. And so I wanted to be able to build other hairstylists and their clientele. So to me, it was like the bigger picture of not just restricting it to this little small box that I was in. So I wanted to be able to expand it into making it more prestige, into making it more acclimated for what I wanted, having more stylists, build their clientele, and yeah, just offer different things. Like I wanted to be colorful, chandeliers, all the rest of that, and I got every single last thing that I wanted.
What's interesting is a lot of women I talk to say you don't need a lot of money to start a business, but to grow and sustain it, you do. During this process, when you first went off on your own, you started Kaleidoscope Hair Studio, and you only had a couple $100s left after the deposit. Mm-hmm. Did you go to the bank for funding? Did you get loans? Or did you just do the hair-a-thon and pay for it in that way?
I did, and the hair-a-thon wasn't a week, by the way. That was until the salon was completed, so that was months. But I did get a credit card. I think I had like a $10,000 limit on my credit card, so that was something. But then it's not, you pay it back, so it's not like it's a loan where you have installments. That was about the only thing. Outside of that, I am a person that believes in having good credit. I was taught that as a child. So I have been very meticulous about paying my bills on time. I am big on budgeting. I like to be able to, for my bills to be 3 times less than what my income is. So I like to be able to afford it 3 times over. So I am real meticulous about that, because I also know anything that comes also can leave at any moment. I try not to overextend myself. I try not to put myself in a position where it's financially straining. Especially now, when I have a lot of people counting on me, a lot of different people who I provide jobs to, having my grown-ass children, excuse my language, my grown children.
Your grown-ass children, that's
right.
Totally fine.
Right, my grown-ass children. My mom, who also didn't want me to be a hairstylist, I retired her.
What did she say when you retired your mom? After all of these shenanigans, being kicked out the house, not wanting you to be a hairstylist, but here you are retiring her.
So I'm not gonna say she wasn't supportive. It's just hard to see. I didn't see it, so I didn't expect it. At some point, of course, they started to see it once things started happening anyway. Like once I had a successful salon, they saw it. But my mom has been supportive. My mom helped me raise all of my children because I was a teenager when I had them. So she has been a great right hand. She actually, when I retired her, she worked for me for a little while. So she did, because she worked at the post office. So that was perfect for me. So she knew all of the shipping logistics and everything.
She can make sure your stuff didn't get lost.
When I tell you, no, not just that, but she knew shipping logistics. She knew rates. She knew a lot of different things that were real beneficial to my business. So when she retired from USPS, she worked for Kaleidoscope. But eventually, I'm like, oh my God, I feel so bad that this lady retired and now she come and work for me. But she was able to help me stand up my business in the particulars. And now, but she's fine. She's supportive.
It's fantastic. And the reason you can do all of that is because of the way that you budgeted. But sometimes you can't budget for certain things. Just a few months after you started Kaleidoscope, tragedy happened. Mm-hmm. And this is not your first rodeo with tragedy, mm-hmm. but this was a devastating blow. The salon that you worked so hard, mm-hmm. here you are, this is your dreams. You're like, I'm going off on my own. Boom, a curling iron fire.
Yep. Watch it all go in flames. But I'm also a survivor of Katrina.
I know. No. So for people who don't know your story, in 2005, your whole hair situation got uprooted. You had to leave New Orleans and go to Houston, but you were going back and forth and doing hair for months with your kids and your hair and all of this stuff.
Jesus. That's my life, right? So, So Katrina happened. Everybody in New Orleans is uprooted.
Yep.
I moved to Houston.
Like a lot of New Orleans people.
Yeah, I moved to Houston. Me and my children's father were debating about, he had my boys. I had my daughter. I told him, because at the time we were not together. He was trying to get with me. He said, the only way I go where you going is if we could try to get together. I didn't care what I had to tell him. I wanted my children. So I said, okay, sure, we could try to make something work. So, and that was a lie.
That's such a mom move.
That was such a lie. Anyway, so we moved to Houston. Then I realized in Houston that the stuff that I did, the stuff that I specialized in, the New Orleans woman, wore it more often. Like in Houston, a lot of these people were professional and they didn't get their hair done like the New Orleans women get their hair done once a week to go out to the club, doing this, that, and the other. So once I realized that the situation was different, the first thing I did was, I will never forget, I traveled back to New Orleans when we weren't supposed to go back.
Yeah, you were driving. It was just like the Underground Railroad back to New Orleans.
Because it was, no, for real, they had National Guards. You had to get past the National Guards. Like, we had a New Orleans, like group text, how you could sneak in and where you could go. I was just trying to get in the city because they still had dead bodies. Like they had a lot of stuff that they were still cleaning up. I was trying to get to New Orleans to get my picture book to be able to bring it to Kinko's to make color copies, to make flyers, because I knew what I did, which was some, hate to put it, but like some real ghetto shit. Like I did, like that's the type of hair I did. They didn't really have that in Houston. And I know a lot of people from New Orleans moved to Houston, so I know that my services were needed there. So I drove back to New Orleans when I wasn't supposed to be there.
And you didn't know your picture book had survived or not. You were hoping the picture book had survived.
Of course.
We don't know God saved the picture book.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I got there. One of them did, one of them didn't. But the one that did, I made color copies at Kinko's, and I put flyers in Sharpstown Mall. I will never forget, I walked around Sharpstown Mall passing out flyers. And them color copies are high. They're expensive.
Especially back then. People don't understand. It was like $1.25 per copy at Kinko's.
And then imagine, I didn't have no money.
No.
I didn't have no money like that. The only thing I had, I was saving up to have a salon. So I had a little, like this was before my salon. So I was saving up to have a salon. This was back in 2005, before I ever had any salon. So I had a little money, but I had my children. We had to get a place to stay. I wasn't, like, getting assistance was real tricky back then. I was living with my mom at the time. So since I wasn't the owner of the house, I didn't qualify for assistance. So it was a big mess. But I went to Houston and I was building clients there. But New Orleans, as it started getting back open, they didn't have people there. They didn't have like necessity people there. Like they didn't have hairstylists there. They didn't have this there. They didn't have that there. I would travel from Houston to New Orleans Friday and do hair Saturday and Sunday and make more money Saturday and Sunday than I would the whole week in Houston. So that's why I was traveling back and forth. I had my children in school in Houston. I wanted to make sure my children could finish school where they were at, but my money was in New Orleans. I made some money in Houston, but the real money was in New Orleans. I mean, when I went there, because again, this was before the Hair-a-thon ever happened.
This was the first Hair-a-thon. This was Hair-a-thon 1.0.
Right. So I was, because I wouldn't stop. I would always have somebody come with me, and they would drive me there and then drive me back. Because I would do it overnight. As soon as I stopped, as soon as I got there, I would start and just keep going, and until I left.
That's insane.
I don't know. Why am I like that?
Oh, well, you're a survivor.
I mean, Jesus.
Well, actually, that is a rhetorical question.
Yeah,
that is why you are
like,
here.
I think people call that a workaholic, but for me, it's like, how else you supposed to get it? And then, if you're going to do something, why not get as much as you can? So I am not a person that really believes in, oh, hey, let me take a break, this, that, and other. I might as well get it done right now. Especially if I can. Not only that, but if you can go as far as you can, why just go this far? If I could go this far, I know it's going to be a little bit harder, a little bit more painful, a little bit more time, a little bit more sacrifice, but I'd rather get here than to get here.
And I think that is the MO, because you say you didn't know you could get here, but deep down inside, this drive wasn't just on quicksand. You believed in yourself. Obviously, you believed in your talent, and you have excellent business intuition. Like, you knew if you could just show the people, you're a very good storyteller. Somehow you knew if you got that picture book of your ghetto fabulous hairstyles and just showed them, those $1.25 Kinko copies would pay for themselves tenfold. So you're investing in yourself. And so you got it together. New Orleans slowly reopened. You started the first salon with your ex-partner, and then you start Kaleidoscope. Then Kaleidoscope burns down. And at this point, many people maybe would say, it's just not in the cards for me. I don't know. I'm pretty strong. And I might just say, you know what? I got to give up.
Nope. I never at no point felt like that. The first thing I felt was, God, and this is in anything with tragedy, what's the lesson I'm supposed to learn in this? I know that I'm not going through this pain. I know I'm not going through this tragedy. I know I'm not going through this for nothing. So what is the lesson that I'm supposed to learn in this? So what I took from it was, when you do this thing, just do it smarter this time around. And since everybody's watching, because when that thing happened in New Orleans hairstylists everywhere heard about it. And everybody started contributing. I had hairstylists left and right donating, because it wasn't just me. I had like 5 other stylists in there with me. They were donating equipment, donating hair products. They were donating, services. They even gave a function. They donated money, all to get us back up and running. But what a lot of people don't realize is when you have a fire or a flood or whatever, there's a lot of red tape around it. Like, I couldn't even go in there and get anything or touch anything, because they have to investigate the scene to make sure it's not this and make sure it's not that. So even if I wanted to go clean it up.
Nope.
I didn't want to keep looking at it like that. I felt like it was such an eyesore, and I felt like here it is, here's my baby in front of me, and it just needs to be dressed, and it's out there naked, and you couldn't touch it. Like, I couldn't touch it for months, and it was like the worst thing. It's like looking at it and can't do nothing about it. All the volunteers are trying to, hey, when can we help come clean? And you just have to wait for the people to come and do what they have to do. Then once they do what they have to do, you kind of pull yourself together. But for me, knowing that New Orleans was watching, knowing that I had all these eyes on me, I felt even more compelled to have to come back better and stronger, because I felt like I had to prove to the world that if I can do it, you can do it too. If I can get over this tragedy, this huge tragedy, and come back 10 times better, then you could do it too. It's just this time around, I want the chandeliers cheaper, so I want, instead of me going to the chandelier place that's in New Orleans, I went to DH Gate, And like I was ordering stuff from China. I was doing all kind of things to try to cut my costs and not have to spend as much, because I have to do the same thing that I did, but in a very small, condensed amount of time. And I couldn't wait for insurances and wait for whatever it is that they were going to rule. And then the landlord at the time was saying half of the stuff in there was his. So I had a lot of stuff I was fighting with, but I had people relying on me. I had clients that was trying to be in their own personal space, because we moved from there back into the space that I had with the person that I was with, but that had turned into a barbershop. So now, you know, there's
a totally different vibe.
Yes.
That's not what you're looking for.
Yes. So
when you come into Kaleidoscope.
Right. I wanted us to get back in our comfortable space, and I felt fully compelled to do that. So it was doing it smarter, bringing it back bigger, bringing it back better, and then I offered products, which I had no idea were going to do what they did.
Well, now I want to talk about that, because this is very interesting. Let's say fire hadn't happened. You're just going on with your awesome, expensive chandelier, your beautiful first-rate salon. Do you think that the products would have been put on hold while you enjoyed this? Do you think that perhaps the months of pause of the hair studio impacted the growth, the faster growth of your desire to have the product line?
The product thing was something that somebody had to damn near bend my arm behind my back to do.
When was that? Was that before the fire or after the fire?
It was before the fire.
So
they had been in my ear since before I had Kaleidoscope Hair Studio at all. They was like, you should really do products, this and other. And I was like, I don't want to sell no $5 spritz I do sew-ins for $300. I don't care about no $5 spritz. I had no idea. My mind was stuck on servicing. I had no idea to think about selling mass amounts to people versus standing behind a chair. So the person just kept on saying, this is somebody that I watched come to the salon all the time selling his products. It was like, you really should do it. And we got cool. And this person kind of turned into a little bit of a mentor for me. It was just like, just try it. I'm going to connect you with somebody. Just try it. And the thing that pushed me to do it, one of my clients cheated on me and went to a hairstylist and came back and had a big bald spot in the middle of her head because the lady put a goddamn bobby pin in her hair to do a ponytail. So then I felt compelled to bring it back because, see, I told your ass don't be going nowhere else. But anyway.
Oh my goodness. Also, I give you A+ for compassion. Not everybody would have taken her back.
Yeah, no, I'm not like that.
But we have her to thank. Your compassion is to thank for your multi-million-dollar business. Yeah. So she comes back with the bald spot.
Right, I felt compelled to do it. So I was like, he keeps telling me to get products. All right, so connect me with the people, and I want something that can help fix this. I want something that can help fix this.
Because there was a common problem, because we did not have YouTube. We did not have any information about hair health. You were literally like the witch doctor when it came to Black women's hair. The hairstylist. We had no knowledge of how to fix our own hair or do anything with ourselves. Without you, nobody has any information or materials.
Yeah, you talking about as a hairstylist?
Yeah. Like she came to you. You weren't going. There's no place else to go.
It's like, first of all, you take your girl. And then her hair was like this long. I grew her hair real long.
So you had an invested interest. They come back, and what is the product that you start with?
So the Miracle Drops is the thing that we made for her. But I did some extensive. That was the last thing I took to market. Because like baldness and hair loss and all the rest of that wasn't on the forefront for me at the time. I had that one client dealing with that.
So you had the secret hookup to the Miracle Drops recipe, but publicly you started, since you were already dabbling, you started doing the spritzes and things like that.
Well, the mentor that I had gave me his team, like he referred me his team of chemists. So I wanted to come out with a few products. It's just the Miracle Drop were the last ones that I sold, because for me, I was selling it to my clients as an upsell. I wasn't even selling it to the public. I was like, I could just add this to their service. So edge control was the thing. Then it was spritz. Then it was diamond shine. And then it was the Miracle Drops. So the Miracle Drops was the last thing on my list because I felt like the edge control was the thing because everybody wanted the edge control. So the first thing I took to market was something that I call Sleek Edges, and I did something called the Edge Police.
Love it.
Which it was me and a friend of mine in real time, Party City uniforms, dressing up like cops, friends, like we would go on social media and say, hey, the Edge Police gonna be out today. Send us your friend's address that you want us to pull up on. So we pulling up at strangers' houses with our phones. We had somebody with a phone recording us, and we slicking their edges and we putting it on social media. And it's the craziest thing. People were so entertained by that. People had no idea that they were being forced to watch a tutorial while laughing. It's called like edutainment. So it's education with entertainment at the same time. Because I'm a person, I love to do remakes. And Cops was a great series. And I figured, why not do it with hair?
So was this your idea, the Edge Police, like the whole skit and all of these different things? Because we all have the ideas where we're sitting around just kind of like having fun. You bring these things to fruition. Mm-hmm. You actually make it happen and reap the rewards. How do you do this? Like,
I feel like, you know what I really feel like? I feel like because I was such a young mom, I think I live my childhood now. I think all of the craziest ideas that I've ever had, I am not scared to do. And I don't know if it's because, you know, maybe in my teenage years or whatever, I didn't do a lot of stuff, but I will take the craziest marketing idea. I don't care how crazy it is. I didn't record it before with a unicorn, a real life horse with a thing on it. So I really, whatever is my most far-fetched idea, I feel like, okay, that's the one we should go with. I think I'm kind of fearless when it comes to stuff like that. And I think because my brand itself has been inclusive before, it was a marketing tactic for people. I think a lot of people relate to our authenticity. A lot of people like how relatable we've been this whole entire time. I think a lot of people like that I have quality products and I'm not just selling bullshit or saying, hey, this is such and such and this is how it works. I'm the one that's gonna say, now girl, why your edges look like that? You know, that's who I am.
And it's so much fun. And you have done such a great job of doing what so many of us wish we could figure out, which is understanding the social media game and harnessing the power of social media. When do you think you first began realizing, wait, this works, my profile and the silly things I do, this is my ticket?
It was probably before that. So it wasn't even kind of like the silly thing. So when I opened Kaleidoscope Hair Studio, I try to find the most popular, we now call them influencers, but that's not, there was no name for it back then. Try to find people that were trending at the time in my area to be able to promote my salon. So because I didn't have a marketing budget, I would give them hair for free and let them have hair services for free in exchange for exposure on their page. I watched how that grew our platform tremendously. So then I then looked outside of New Orleans and I looked into different areas and say, hey, why don't I find somebody else that's trending and let them talk about the hair products? And when that happened, I was like, oh, people are ordering from Italy. Like, I ain't never been to Italy myself, you know? So once I realized that was a thing, I just went with any kind of crazy idea that comes to my mind. I could open my phone right now. I have an idea note that's just ongoing.
And you never know when you're going to take something off that idea note. And you never know when it's time. And it's almost as though you have like a psychic crystal ball when it comes to this stuff. Because you were doing influencing before people were doing this. And what I find interesting about you, just in the same way you hired someone to drive you back and forth from Houston to New Orleans, you hire these influencers. You are not afraid, which is really difficult for a mompreneur. Because a lot of us are so worried about taking money that could feed our kid and trying to invest it in a dream, right? Where it's very difficult to put hope into something that's not exactly tangible. Because influencers you don't know what you're going to get sometimes, mm-hmm. right? And you have done everything from the hair bundles for the local person to 5 figures for Snoop Dogg, Young D, all these different mm-hmm. people. What is your advice to people who want to do this, but they're afraid that their investment will flop? Like they're afraid spending 5 figures on a celebrity endorsement and not reaping the rewards. Like it's difficult.
100% transparency. Right now it is 50% hit or miss. Back when Instagram was Instagram years ago, you had a higher chance of having a home run. Right now you have to fully do your homework before you do it. Like I would never forget, I did a campaign, I won't say with what celebrity, I did a campaign with somebody and it was like $30K for this person. And I can't necessarily say I had that kind of budget. I didn't even make $30 back.
Really?
Yes, she had a huge platform, but she also was bald head. But I figured like, you know, but you see how I'm saying like that, it didn't go. So she was bald head, but I was trying to use her platform because we use humor a lot of time to be able to sell our product. But there was no sales. So her demographic of her people didn't give two cares about hair growth products, or anything like that. So anytime you know that you want to be able to give exposure to your brand, you need to make sure that it aligns and that the person's demographic actually fits with what you're selling and that they're sellable. Because you can have somebody that has a lot of followers, but if you look in the comment section, they're not asking, where you got that from? Where did you buy this? Where did you boot it? They're just saying, oh, your booty fat. Oh, you're this, and the other. You have to really look into the particulars and the details.
Or they're bots.
There's that. But you know that there's an app called Modash IQ that actually tells fake followers, fake likes, fake everything. So, because that's the thing too. But I'm a person that is a big risk taker, and I will, to this day, I will take everything out of my bank account and risk it on stuff like when scaling my business, it always is inventory. Like when I was growing a business, my CPA, and I so thank him for that, made me buy real estate. And every time you scale, it's expensive. So I'm just so happy that I had pieces of property that I would sell. I would just sell. I would be like, let me sell this piece of property so I could, invest in this.
Because it's the passive income. Like you buy something for X, and then with the 2X you get, then you can invest in the inventory. And also, I think you were smart and you bought warehouse space too. So you don't have to rent and be worried about kicked out, have to worry about your rent going up. All kinds of things.
I had an apartment complex, a strip center. The last thing I have now is a strip mall. I sold an apartment complex during COVID because, when COVID happened, people that was there to make the money, we was making money. I mean, every human being on the earth was on the internet trying to spend money on something. That's all people were doing all day long. They were getting dressed up to go to Instagram or getting dressed up to go to some kind of social something. So we were making money. So I had to get some more inventory. And then the supply chain issue, I had to get different manufacturers. So I was like, what can I do? Because I'm not trying to get a loan from this person. I'm not trying to get no investors.
Self-funding.
Yes, definitely.
And talk about that, because a lot of the mompreneurs really look for creative funding to specifically not have business partners. Why is that important, do you think? Why do you think it's important to try to keep as much of the business for yourself as possible?
For me, I'll say this. I think a lot of people overthink business. I think everybody feels like it has to have perfect timing. I have to have this kind of budget. I have to have this kind of thing. But the first thing you could do is do the stuff that's free. Like even down to figuring out your name, getting your LLC, doing all of that, making your social media page, actually doing the research on if you want to have a product, actually doing the research on finding different manufacturers, getting the pricing. There's a lot to do before you spend $1. So I feel like a lot of people want to wait till they get some money, want to get somebody to help fund them, want to do all of this, but don't even have the full knowledge of everything that you're about to walk into. Why don't we learn about the industry that you're walking into? If you want to make these big fluffy socks for children, that's great. What's the average cost of that? How much can you sell it for? Have you found a manufacturer that can give you a great cost on your, on your goods to be able to sell it at this rate? How much do you have to buy for that rate to change? What does this even look like in turnover time? Who's going to be able to ship it for you? What's the cost of shipping? Are you going to ship for free? If you ship it for free, have you factored that in your cost of goods? It's so many different things that you have to factor in before you even touch $1. So I feel like people always want to jump over the learning process and won't go straight into what they think should work.
That's a word. I mean, I think that it's very difficult. How can people learn? So you are fortunate because they always say it takes 10 years to become a master at something, right? So because you started with hair at 15, by the time you were 25, you were pretty much a master of the type of hair that worked with your clientele. When you went to Houston and then came back to New Orleans and started your first salons and then started Kaleidoscope. How can people learn? What are ways people should try to become a master of the industry they're interested in?
Google. That is when I tell you Google, when it comes to even down to me trying to find more manufacturers, because currently we have manufacturers. I have, when I first started selling the Miracle Drops, I would be buying a few hundred at a time. Right now, our minimum order quantity for my drops is 200,000 pieces.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
And that is not, how many years? Because you didn't start, Miracle Drops was the last product.
Yep, 2014, we had 2023,
so
9 years. So
in less than 10 years, the exponential growth of just that one product, as well as the whole line,
correct,
is out of control.
But let me tell you this. The person I was in a situation with could only produce like 10,000 pieces in a week. But then the business grew to a point where that just wasn't enough. And they weren't growing with me. And I don't knock them for that. But had I stayed there because of their incapability of growing with me, I would not have been able to grow into where I am now. The manufacturer I have now, there was a person in between the person I have now and the person I had in the beginning. They also had an issue with trying to keep up with demand. But that's why I say a lot of people think that we have this magic circle of people, we hold our resources, and we're not telling people, half of that shit we find be on Google.
I love it. And Alibaba.
Be on Google.
It's so much fun. And I think that is a big lesson, because that's why we were doing the series. It's because you are a regular person who figured it out. And it was not easy. And it was not like it just was a clear trajectory. You had a lot of money lost, a lot of drama, but you kept getting back up and you took charge of the situation. What is your advice for any mom who would like to, besides just Googling, find it within themselves? Because you must have been exhausted. You have 3 kids. You're traveling back and forth. You're displaced for a lot of this. How do you stay faithful? I know God is a very important part of this, but like you said, without works, faith is dead. What is your advice for people who just feel like, I'm just too tired, I just can't?
I don't believe in I can't. I 100% don't believe in I can't. I have been exhausted myself. I think you never know exactly how far you can go until you stretch yourself. I think it's great to take mental space and mental time alone. I also think that people should pay attention to their surroundings, because I think a lot of time people don't realize that energy is transferable. And so us being moms, us having to, raise our kids and do all the things that we have to do, if you don't have the right kind of support, or if you have the wrong kind of support, that can also be taxing on you emotionally. So I would say, as much as you can, make sure to keep your space clear of any negative energy and have positive energy. And when you think you ain't got the time, when you in the bed and you sitting there thinking about everything else, or you scrolling on Instagram or doing whatever it is, you might be on Google just looking up something like, what can I buy my daughter? Like, let me find out something about some grapes. It's okay to take that time and do some research for yourself. It's okay as a mom to actually take you time. I don't think that's taken away from the children. The children are taken care of. They're straight. You now can actually get on your phone and do the research for yourself. You can take 5 minutes out of your day and just jot down some notes that even might, make you smile. There was a practice that I did I will never forget. I definitely believe in therapy and mental health and all the rest of it. I was going to a therapist at the time, and I was going through this thing where I was like, Lord, I don't know what's going on, but something just don't feel right. So my therapist told me to do this thing I would never forget, and put as my screensaver, and this is when you're going through something and you just feel like you wake up in the still air and it doesn't go away.
All the time.
Right.
My life.
So find a great photo for your screensaver, whether it's yourself, whether it's your kids, whether it's whatever it is. It can even be a vacation home that you're dreaming of having. You have that as your screensaver, and then you put 4 words that bring you joy, that that you think about yourself, that really make you happy. And believe it or not, that in a matter of like 48 hours had me smiling. And it's because it's a constant, because you always
what was
have
the picture?
My Shopify. It was my Shopify report for my income to date at the time, and then my words were prosper, growth, It was 4 different things, but it was my Shopify. It was a reminder that you have done it. And I know that sounded a little vain because it was about money.
It is not vain. Here's the thing that we need to realize. I think we have to change our relationship to money. It's not vain because that prosperity created generational wealth that's helping your family succeed, right? Like you, with your manifestation and with your hard work and dedication and tremendous work on yourself, and I really appreciate you bringing up therapy. I don't know how to do if I'm a therapist. That worked for you, and that worked to get your family to where it is. And also, the prosperity got you miracle drops finally to the market, and also not just bringing you generational wealth, but also romantic love. How did you and the Brat meet over miracle drops?
Oh my God! And we definitely met over miracle drops. That is a great way to put that. So when I finally, because when I tell you, I used to have to fight with the internet. You only successful because you were a celebrity. First of all, I only met a celebrity because I was successful. Like let's get it straight. It didn't happen in that order. So when I was blessed enough to be able to work with different celebrities, it was Michael Blackson that gave me the first opportunity. I had been reaching out to different people. Nobody cared who I was.
You weren't just reaching out. Reaching out is a calm way of doing it. You were accosting. You were in their space. And I love what you say. You're just like, you can't, if you're a businesswoman, you got to be persistent. You don't have to be rude, but you got to be persistent. But the first one that you started working with was Michael.
Yes, so Michael Blackson was the first person that gave me an opportunity. There were a lot of no's.
Which you waited for, yes.
I'm not gonna talk about the no's, but Michael Blackson let me do a run-up on him where he was in New Orleans. I knocked on the door, act like I was the housekeeper, say, hey, I saw the bald-headed woman you was with, tell her use these drops. And once he did it and we posted it, then some of the people that had been telling me no now have said yes. So there was Michael Blackson, there was a Black China, anybody that I could run up on, I ran up on. I would never forget.
And did you slide into DMs like, yo, I'm doing these things, can I run up on you in this viral video?
Michael Blackson?
Yeah.
It was his manager.
But this is very important. You reached out to these people. This was not just something that happens. You had to figure out the people you wanted to target. You took the no's, you finally get a yes, and you take those yeses, and you extrapolate to more yeses.
Yeah, I ain't scared of no. I don't care who tell me no, because I feel like he's saying no now. I'm not scared of no, and I'm not scared of rejection. I guess that's what you call it. I feel like if this was the no, then they must have a bigger yes. So I'm not scared of that. But
so from Michael to Black China, Milan, everybody.
Right. So with Brat, we actually had a makeup artist that we used in common in LA. Her name is Sean Simon. And so I told, because anybody I come, who you do? Girl, hook me up with this person, that person, this person, that person, this person. Tell them I pay good and I want to do a run-up video. So it just so happened that Sean had did Lisa Ray already, and she told me that she does Brat. So, Sean told me she did Brat. So I was like, okay, well, hook me up with Brat's team and let's get her to do promo. So Brat actually did promo, and from there, she said, well, who is this person? And she started following me on social media, and I do inspirational videos. I do a lot of different things. So she was following me. She was commenting. Sometimes she would be in my live. We had never met. And I went on tour that year. I was teaching entrepreneurship on tour, and she stopped at one of my tour stops. She didn't tell me she was coming. She told it to my assistant. I had no idea. So I'm closing out my session, and afterwards there's the picture taking and whatever else people want to pitch their businesses, whatever else. So I'm standing at the step and repeat taking pictures, and she's there. I didn't know she was there. She always tells the story. She's like, I was waiting for you for 30. They had me standing in the back waiting for you for 30 minutes while you signing autographs, taking pictures. I was like, I didn't even know you were there. I didn't know
you were there for business. You weren't thinking about.
I had no idea that she was there. So then they walk her in while I'm taking pictures, and there's a line of people, and everybody's like, that's the Brat. It's like, what? Where? So she came by me, she took a picture, she saw how I still had a line of people to finish taking pictures with. She said, so let's link later. And I was like, okay, girl, we can link later. And I'm thinking, okay, she wants to link later. So I get to my Airbnb, I change my clothes, decompress, put on some comfortable clothes, and I meet her at So Def Studio. you know, and she was like, well, where your camera person? Where your team? I said, you said let's link later. I thought you was, you know, I thought this was about to be a date. So I'm here to link, you know, like, okay, hey girl, what we doing? So from there, she got real nervous. She was smoking a blunt. She dropped it on, burnt the hole in the couch. She was trying to drink a drink, spilled it all on her clothes. Because we were talking, and we was talking about different things that we interested in. And I turned to her, I said, well, I'm interested in you. And she was like, she had never met somebody that's been so upfront and so aggressive. So, yeah, that's kind of our beginning.
I love it. And I also love that you get to clear the air, that you being you is what caused this. You were just being you, a professional businesswoman, trying to get your products out there, and all of these blessings came to you. The hard work was there in the beginning, but how you've approached life since the hard work, giving back, being a person who is not just about you, but about your community, led to this, which is incredible. So when we're looking at this, you mentioned earlier your Guinness Book World Records, right? And you talked about how you met through launching these products, and as part of launching these products, doing these sessions where you help other entrepreneurs become business people as well. Why are you so passionate about giving back to the point where you're winning world records for the amount of hair care products that you are giving in 24 hours, which I think is an incredible feat? Thank
you. My mom always tells this story that when I used to go to daycare, I would come home, like we would always get cookies, and I would always come home with 2 cookies and give it to my sister. Like, they would be crumbled up sometimes, they still would be whole. But I really think that it has to be in your heart from birth. I really don't think that's something that, you know, that just happens or that comes with the obligation of being a business owner. I think that my heart is made that way.
What does being a mompreneur mean to you?
Mom first. That's definitely in it. Being a mom and being an entrepreneur, I think that's all things. I feel like, first of all, being a mom is some stuff that is indescribable. Like, I think a lot of people don't even give a lot of credit to that because people feel like it's done so often, but carrying a life, me watching it this time as a mature woman, watching somebody else get to experience it and experience it with them.
Who had no idea, who's just literally from ground floor, not knowing what on earth is going on.
I mean, I had 3 children, and experiencing it this time is so different for me. It's like, when I had my 3 children, I was younger, you know, and things happened and it wasn't planned. And now this is something that we're wanting, and we're going to the ultrasound. We're excited. We listening to the growth. We're, you know, the baby's currently 1 pound, 7 ounces, you know, all of these different things and these advanced technologies. I think it's just amazing to be able to watch that and then give birth and then raise a child. So I think that within itself is huge. Add entrepreneurship to that makes you a superhero. Because being an entrepreneur, you have to be halfway crazy, because you have to believe something is possible that has never been done before, or you have to believe something is possible that you can't see. That takes crazy. That takes a certain bit of crazy. So I think that makes you a superhero.
Some of the same crazy when you look at your little baby and you have big dreams for them that other people can't see. You have your actual human babies, and then you have your business babies.
Yep.
And it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
With Pits and Wells. And so we're so grateful that you were here talking about your business babies, your actual babies, your grandbaby you're going to go and do an incredible Easter party for.
Yes.
And another one on the way.
Woo.
Few more months, you'll be a mama of 4.
Starting over, girl. Starting over.
Any advice for people who are in the process of thinking that they want a late in life baby?
Don't be scared. Don't be scared. I think for me, again, watching my wife, who's 48, experience pregnancy at her age and fall in love with the process and being so connected to the process and being so in love with the process and being amazed at looking at an ultrasound. And a lot of people think it's extremely dangerous or it's impossible or, you know, but this whole process, we have to go to maternal fetal specialists to make sure everything's right. We have to go to our OBGYN to make sure everything's right. And everything has been fine. So I think a lot of people have a fear that once they get a certain age that it's impossible. I think a lot of people should educate themselves on what that looks like, though, because at a certain age you lose a lot of eggs. So just knowing the time frame, anything over 40, understanding the time frame that you have left, and if you don't want to do it right now, at least freeze your eggs.
These are all types of things you talk about on your show. And one of the last things I want to mention, which I think is really brilliant, is you said in 2018 that you wanted your products to be in mainstream stores. You said you set that goal for yourself, and here we are, 2023, and you're in dozens of stores. I find your use of your reality show as a professional launch pad to be extraordinarily brilliant, because not only, of course, do they follow your journey, but you also, as always, reinvested money that they pay you for the reality show into ad sales. Talk to us really quickly, because I think that's very important, because the reinvestment of money in a business is crucial to its growth, and you have strategized very well. Why did you take so much money and invest in your first season of your reality show on WeTV in commercials at every single break for Kaleidoscope?
I feel like y'all gave me some new eyeballs. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with them. You know, like for all of these people that are here, I know you're here to learn about our relationship, but guess what else we offer? You know, like I feel like understanding that the demographic of the people that I have on Instagram that are currently consumers is far different from the demographic of television that actually is a totally different age range, totally different consumer. And I felt like I wanted to aggressively get in front of their eyes, and it exponentially grew our sales. And so that episodic rate that they gave me, I put it right into commercials.
So was it an even Steven, do you think? Like, how much did you spend on commercials?
I think it might have been like close to $100,000.
$100,000 an episode in commercials?
No, total.
$100,000 total for commercials. But how much X did that pay off? Because the commercials.
The first week our sales in retail went up like 700%.
So there you have it.
So I was like, I'm going to continue this. Like, this was super cute, you know? And I was like, oh my God, because watching, the biggest reward for me for that is the commercials were also with my staff. So my staff got to watch themselves on TV too. So it was like a win. We were at the launch party, so we were happy that we had the show, but then my staff got to see themselves on TV as well. So. And
you're very good about giving back, and not just with your staff, but also with your boo, because now you have an actual bona fide licensing deal. You didn't just say, hey, let's do a product together. You did it the right way. You have
I sure did.
The Brat Kaleidoscope line.
Correct.
Why did you, and you know, you've mixed business with love before. What did you learn this time around that you wanted to do to keep things on the up and up?
So for this one, I feel like my wife doesn't really understand her earning potential, right? So
can't we say that about so many of our partners?
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. I feel like that's so, I watch her and I watch her mannerisms, and I was trying to do something that would mitigate the amount of time that she would have to do anything. But I also felt like, what would be the perfect thing? How can I get her? Because I know how lucrative Kaleidoscope is for me now that we got it where we are. So her wearing braids all the time, to me, the perfect thing is a protective hairstyle collection with her. She could give me the input on what she wants in it. Of course, she's not going to say, I want a product that has Manuka honey in the rest. No, she's going to tell me, I want something that make it stop itching. I want to do this, that, and the other. And I figure out the technical things. I figure out the type of ingredients. I figure out the labels. I figure out the COGS, the cost of goods and stuff like that. And she just gives me her input on stuff like the fragrances. I'll put them 4 things in front, which one you like, you know. So I figure out that part of it, so that way she could also know that you don't have to just make money by doing servicing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's great to have residual income by just posting on social media and, hey, buy these products. So we definitely, she didn't want it. I told her.
You had to fight for it.
Yes. I told her, I'm sending you something, send it to your lawyer. Because I asked her to do it. She was like, okay, cool. And I was like, good. Because I knew that if I told her that I wanted to pay her for it, she wasn't going to do it. So I sent it through her. I had to reach out to her person, who's her aunt. Her aunt is her accountant. I said, please get this done for me, because she's not going to accept it from me.
Is she grateful now that you pushed it?
She is. But one thing about my wife, she doesn't care about mansions. She doesn't care about Rolls Royces. She doesn't care about diamonds or nothing. When it comes to us, she just, as long as I'm right there, we can live in a matchbox. She don't care. She don't care about none of that. I just wanted her to understand that she could, whatever it is that she wanted to do, she could do.
Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and your brilliance, and also for your incredible hairline. Where can people find more information about your products if they want to?
They can find it online, Instagram at Kaleidoscope Hair Products, but you can purchase it at Walmart, Target, Sally's, CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid, Myers, Fred Harmon, Nordstrom Rack, everywhere. So
I'm so proud of you. You are an inspiration and an incredible mompreneur.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
As Judy said, for more information, visit Kaleidoscope Hair Products on Instagram, and of course, watch Brat Loves Judy on WeTV. Thanks for being here with us on another episode of Mompreneurs. Make sure you watch it on MadameNoire.com and listen and follow Mompreneurs wherever you get your podcasts and at urban1podcasts.com. Amazing. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Yay.